Alright, so this is the first in just a few quick videos to show you how to access and get information or resources for Psychology 200 into your Blackboard course. So you've already done this or you wouldn't be able to watch this video, but when you come into your Blackboard you'll see your courses listed. And then always from this point forward in this section down below where it says no term assigned, you're going to be listed as an instructor for this course right here, Psychology 200 Norton Textbook Materials. And what I've done is I've created this course and established you as an instructor for this class, and this is where I have placed everything I can think of that you'll need to teach Psychology 200 with the Psychology in Your Life 2nd edition textbook and get information into your Blackboard course. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. But I'll give you just a quick overview of the materials that are here. What we'll end up doing is we'll end up creating these different content areas in your Blackboard course, and you will control whether or not students see those things. Actually, you probably shouldn't let them see anything, but this will just be for your own use. So the first content area includes textbook course materials for students. And so in each one of these areas there are things like chapter outlines, flashcards. These are all things that you can choose to deploy in a particular area if you want for students to use them. Okay? There's nothing in these areas that students should not have access to. So because they're all housed in this one content area, you could just change the name of this to anything that you wanted and just make this entire area open to students, and they'll have every one of these resources for every chapter. That's what I do. I think it's a good thing to do. It just gives extra things for students to use when they're studying the material. This other link here, of course, will not be for student use, and this is textbook instructors resources. So this is part of the Norton import where it gives you some information about what these different things are. Just the first section is informational. The second section, there's a file folder here called PowerPoint Files, right? And in the PowerPoint Files folder are just two links, and these are links to download zip files. So rather than making every single, I didn't want to upload every single file for you to have to go download. If you click one of these zip files, then the package will decompress wherever you want it to on your local computer. So there's two different types. There's the traditional lecture slides, which is what most of us are used to, and then there's a set of active learning lecture slides where active learning activities are built into the slides, and there are things included like handouts for classroom use and things like that. It's really useful. You might want to play around with that. Also under resources for the textbook, this is just something you could deploy to students if you want. It's an overall table of contents for what's involved, but I don't know that you would really want to do that, but it's just a quick reference. Guided reading activities you could assign to students, ethics essays, you can look at all those, demonstration videos, and there's some basic instructions for how to deploy quizzes. Most of you already know how to do that. And a link to the website for the instructor resources materials. But to save you the time and energy, I've taken pretty much everything in that website and I've put it here for you so that you don't have to deal with that. There'll be a content area that we designed that is specifically just for the link to the Psychology in Your Life textbook. I will show you how to set that up so that your students can access it. In this content area, there are things called ZAPS experiments, and these you don't have to use. I think they're great extra credit activities. You might want to play around with it, but basically these will open up in the Norton Inquisitive System a series of experiments that students can do. I just recently learned about this. They've just recently cleaned them up so that they're much more usable. But essentially you can assign experiments for students to do, and the system will collect the data that your students generate from the experiments, and you can then look at the data for the entire class. So it's pretty interesting. It's kind of a lab component to Psychology 200. Completely optional, just there if you want it. I'll experiment with it this semester. I won't be making it part of any grade. Another section you should be familiar with if you've taught this before is the inquisitives. The inquisitive activities are designed to help students learn this at a deeper level. It's a gaming type of theory where students go in and they wager and they compete, and it grooms them up in the understanding of the different concepts. If you haven't used it before, I would suggest that you use it, experiment with it. I use it, students really like it. It's probably a little bit close to when the semester starts to use it at this point, but if you want to play around with it and give it to students to experiment with for extra credit so that you can see what it's like, I think it's quite useful. We will be rolling this out more next semester and using this to do our assessment. And then in the last section, all the test banks and testing resources I've placed here for you rather than having to make you go download them from the website. So in the test bank file folder, this is a one PDF version of the test bank. Okay, so if you download that PDF document, you'll have the entire test bank. And here are separate files that I went ahead and I expanded for you that you can access and download any one of these files. These are RTF or like Word documents that you can edit if you want to create your own test. The other thing that I've put in the test bank and testing area is a folder for exam view files. Exam view is the program that you house on your local computer to generate tests for your students, tests, quizzes, whatever. So there's 3 different files here. If you already have the exam view system installed and you've been using it, then you can just download the data file to your computer and then you can tell exam view to open it. If you haven't been using exam view, you would click on one of these 2. If you use a Mac like I do, then you would choose this one. If you use Windows, then you would click this one. It downloads the exam view program and all the data files. Very intuitive, easy to use. You can be creating your exams with this. And you could also use exam view to open up old exams that you've created in exam view, and then you could add new material from the textbook. I've been told that the items haven't been totally rewritten, and there really shouldn't be anything that you've used on a test from the last edition that you can't use on this edition of the textbook, but just double check to make sure. Okay, and so that's a list of the resources. The only other thing that you will have in your Blackboard course that's existing here at the moment is if you look at the tests and surveys and pools. Under tests, Norton provides you with a whole selection of pre-made quizzes that you can use. So there's, for example, a pre-lecture quiz on each chapter, a quiz for after they've done some studying, a review quiz that might help them prepare for a test. There are quizzes that you can administer if you assign them to watch a particular video that is housed here in Blackboard. You don't have to use any of these. Some of them are interesting, some of them will be useful to you, some of them won't, but it's all there for you. So if you wanted to administer quizzes just to make sure that students are keeping up with the reading, you can certainly do that. That's all there for you. The other thing under pools is that if you wanted to create online tests, I've taken all the test bank items and I've uploaded them here, and so you will have a pool of items. Now these will include multiple choice, short answer, so on and so forth. You can see there's a little over 100 items for each chapter, but all of the chapter items for the test bank are in Blackboard pools. You can use them to create online quizzes, online tests, use them any way you want. These questions are the same questions that are in the test bank. So the test bank is the test bank. I've just set it up so that you have access to all those items in the pools. In the actual test bank document as a PDF and as RTF or Word type documents that you can edit, and you have the exam view way to access it. So that's the quick overview of everything that's there, and then we'll talk about in the next video getting it over into your course.